The third sort of the modal verb for the assumption about the past to cause the different condition with the present is the modal verb should. The speaker applies the modal verb should to convey the intention that the experience, condition, or action that the speaker believed in the subject to actualize later than the past, but did not actualize in the past, becomes the obligation of the subject at the present. The faith in the past becomes the obligation of the present. The definition of the verb described by the modal verb should is applied to convey the highly feasible assumption of the speaker at the present. This is the intuitive intention conveyed with the modal verb should. The genuine intention conveyed with the modal verb should is that the speaker has at the present the faith in that the definition of the verb shall be actualized. The contextual interpretation from the intuitive intention is this. The speaker considers the actualization is the obligation of the subject. So the speaker wants the subject to actualize the definition of the verb right now. There is a clause. The homework should be submitted. The speaker believed in the subject to exist in the condition described by the phrase of the be verb, be submitted, but the subject did not exist in the condition described by the phrase of the be verb, be submitted. The speaker had faith in the condition, and the condition indicated by the be verb is not actualized right now. The speaker who conveys this clause has the intention, the subject at the present when the speaker. So the speaker signifies the obligation of the subject to exist in the condition described by the phrase of the be verb, be submitted, at the present instantly. The phrase of the be verb should be reveals the gap between the present and the point in the past when the subject was believed to actualize the definition of the be verb by the speaker with the past tense, the modal verb should. The fifth sort of the modal verb for the assumption about the past to cause the different condition with the present is the modal verb would. The speaker applies the modal verb would to reveal that the definition of the verb was expected by the subject at the point in the past to be actualized later than the point in the past, but is not actualized at the present with the application of the modal verb would. The past expectation, the different point in time with the present. The modal verb would is applied for the expected point in time. The tense signified by the modal verb would reveals the gap between the present and the past when the speaker expected the subject to actualize the definition of the verb. The past when the speaker expected the actualization, and the assumed point in time when the expectation in the past is actualized are different. The tense signifies the present when the speaker and the past when the speaker expected the actualization. The speaker that the definition of the verb described by the modal verb would is actualized at a point in time later than the past when the speaker expected the actualization, but that is not the present. The clause deals with the assumed point in time, but the tense is irrelevant with the assumed point in time. The tense reveals the gap between the present and the past when the speaker expected the actualization. We can visualize the point we are in. We are on the pinpoint. The pinpoint number 1 signifies the present when the speaker states the clause to consider that the subject actualizes the definition of the verb as true. The speaker states the clause at the point number 1. The pinpoint number 2 signifies the past when the speaker expected the subject to actualize the definition of the verb. At this point, number 2, we made a choice to be the present. The assumption deals with the other option we didn't choose in the past. The clause that the modal verb is applied deals with the point number 3. The assumed point in time when the subject actualizes the definition of the verb. But I remark the point number 3 with the dotted line because this is assumed. The definition of the phrase of the verb to include the modal verb deals with the point number 3, but the tense of the modal verb could, might, should, would deals with the gap between number 1 and 2. So we have to be aware that the point number 2 is considered as a premise. Be aware that the tense of the modal verb signifies the gap between number 1 and 2. The intention of the clause deals with number 3 at the point number 1. The contextual meaning of the clause deals with number 3. The tense of the modal verb would signifies the gap between the pinpoints number 1 and 2. Number 1 and 2. The tense signifies the gap between the 2 points in time. The speaker states the clause with the modal verb would at the present indicated by the pinpoint number 1. The speaker is always at the present. The speaker states the clause in the conversation with the listener. The subject to actualize the experience, condition, or action indicated by the phrase of the verb to include the modal verb would at the assumed point in time indicated by the pinpoint number 3. The pinpoint number 3 is the object of the assumption. So, the speaker at the present, represented as the pinpoint number 1, states the clause about the assumed point in time, represented as the pinpoint number 3. The speaker describes the assumed experience, condition, or action in this way. There is a clause. She would eat a bowl of salad. The speaker expected to actualize the action indicated by the transitive verb eat at a point in the past. The point of expectation is in the past. However, the subject does not actualize the definition of the transitive verb eat at the present. The fact that the modal verb would is applied in a clause means that the action indicated by the transitive verb eat, the action indicated by the transitive verb eat is assumed. The speaker considers that the subject actualizes the definition of the transitive verb eat as true at an assumed point in time later than the past, when the speaker expected the subject to actualize the definition of the transitive verb eat. The past tense, signified by the modal verb would, reveals the gap between the present and the past when the speaker expected the subject to actualize the definition of the verb. The actualization of the action indicated by the phrase of the transitive verb would eat is not true, but is assumed to be true. So the speaker does not deal with the time when the subject actualizes the definition of the verb eat. The assumed point in time is not dealt with to determine the tense. There is a sentence. Would you mind that if I opened the window? This sentence includes the two clauses to deal with the two assumptions that are related. The clause with the conjunctional adverb if is referred as the subordinate clause. The reason why the conjunctional adverb is applied is to link the subordinate clause to the main clause. The conjunctional adverb if connotes that the subordinate clause is the assumption of the speaker. The relationship between the subordinate clause and the main clause, the assumption of the past action indicated by the transitive verb opened, true, then the main clause is valid. This sentence reveals that the action of the speaker, who is the subject in the subordinate clause, causes the condition of the listeners, who are the subject in the main clause. This sentence is an interrogative sentence. So the speaker wants to ask whether the action of the speaker is the cause of the condition of the listeners. The listeners, who are the subject of the main clause, decide whether the condition caused from the action indicated by the transitive verb opened is accorded with the condition indicated by the transitive verb mind, or not. We can think of the cause and the effect relationship between the action of the speaker and the condition of the listeners. The two responses to this interrogative sentence are below. Yes, I would, and no, I would not. The first response conveys the genuine intention of the speaker. That is, I hope that you do not open the window. The first response reveals the relationship between cause and the effect as positive. The second response conveys the genuine intention that I'm okay with you opening the window. The second response reveals the cause and the effect relationship between the action of the speaker and the condition of the listeners as negative. The speaker intends to actualize the action indicated by the transitive verb opened at the present. The speaker applies the modal verb would to ask something in a polite way. The speaker wants to actualize the action indicated by the transitive verb open in the subordinate clause right now, but the action can be hard to accept to the listeners. So the speaker assumes the action to be actualized in the past. The speaker, the expected condition of the listeners with the modal verb would. The speaker assumes the time as the past when the subject actualized the action indicated by the transitive verb opened, because the speaker conveys the respect to the listeners.